Hello everyone, this is Mr. Underkoffler. We are looking at the guided notes. We're at the top of the page. It says adding integers. Those of you who are pre-algebra students, this might be your your second page for the guided notes that are called adding integers, just to make you aware. All right, so this is the page of guided notes we're looking at. And what I've done for you is at the very top of the page, I've broken these kind of problems down into the two different categories that you're going to find. Okay? First of all of these problems are going to be called adding integers problems because not that you're always going to feel like you're adding, but they're all going to have addition symbols in between. All right, the whole way through, that's what all of these problems are going to have alike. So take a look at the two different scenarios that we have. Follow along as I point this out. If you have a negative number plus another negative number, I can guarantee you the final answer is going to also be negative. Now, if you think back to the number lines, when you had negative numbers, you went to the left, didn't you? So if you went to the left and then went to the left again, obviously that keeps you in the negative numbers, doesn't it, on the number line? That's why a negative plus a negative is going to keep you in the negatives. Now, if this confuses you, if you thought you heard somewhere in life that two negatives make a positive, that is true in other situations in math, which I will teach you about at a later time. But for addition symbol problems, problems that have addition in between, just like with the number lines, a negative goes to the left, the second negative also goes to the left. That's going to keep you in the negatives on a number line. And that is why a negative plus a negative has an answer that's negative. The same thing is true in money. A negative in money is like debt. Debt is when you owe somebody money, like the bank. If you have debt plus debt, that puts you further in debt. So please do not think that two amounts of debt all of a sudden put you into positives with money. That doesn't work like that in real life. I wish it did, but it doesn't. Debt plus debt puts you further in debt. So that's what this category is all about. But how do you find the final answer if it's a negative plus a negative? You know the answer is going to be negative, but what do you actually do? Here's what you do. You'll add the absolute values of the numbers in your head or sometimes off to the side if you have to find out what the final answer is going to be. And then you just keep it negative. When I say add their absolute values, remember absolute values refers to the distance from 0, and that always has a positive result. So basically, when I say add absolute values, it means you're taking away the sign of the numbers temporarily and then adding in your head or off to the side. And then, like I said, final answer is going to be negative. You can see that here on examples 1 and 2. Take a look. Now, I know these are already typed up for you, but follow along with me. Number 1, negative 27 plus negative 56. Can we all agree they are both negative numbers? So this is a negative plus a negative. What do I do? Just like I said, you're going to add their absolute values either in your head or off to the side. Now, this is the kind that I would do off to the side. So off to the side, I would do 27 plus 56, line them up just like elementary school. 7 plus 6 is 13. Carry the 1. 1 plus 2 plus 5 makes us 8. And let me get rid of that shade. The final answer is not 83. Do not let your side work answer be your final answer. No, 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 no. Remember, we temporarily dropped the negative signs. We were adding their absolute values. That's what we were doing in our side work. Remember what I said up here. A negative plus a negative will still keep you in the negatives. So the final answer is negative 83. Now, I taught you on the other packet of guided notes that negative numbers, if they come to the right of an addition symbol, normally they're written in parentheses. But I didn't do that here. What I did instead is I put the negative sign a little bit higher up. I apologize if it was hard to see, but that's where it was. And so that's the other way of writing these problems if you don't want to use parentheses around the second negative number. Your choice which way you would want to write it. I'm cool either way. Problem number 2. Again, we have a negative plus a negative. Again, that second negative might have been a little hard to see, but it is there. So negative 82 plus negative 50. What do? Well, we do what the top set tells us to do. When you have a negative plus a negative, you're going to add their absolute values either in your head or off to the side. I don't think I have to do this one off to the side because even though they're both 2-digit numbers, the second one ends with a 0. That makes it a little easier. You know 2 plus 0 is 2, right? And then 8 plus 5 is 13. So this is going to be 132. Should it be positive or negative? Well, like you just learned, a negative plus a negative should still be negative. So this is going to stay negative 132. All right, guys, so that's the first scenario. negative plus negative. But the other scenario that exists with addition symbol problems of positives and negatives is when you have one number that's negative and the other number is positive. And by the way, I could have also written this as positive plus negative instead of negative plus positive. The order honestly does not matter since there's addition in between. So please realize this order could be flip-flopped and it's still going to be the same rules. So a negative plus a positive, what are we going to do? Since they're different signs, you're going to subtract. And I think this makes logical sense if you think about it. Same signs, negative plus negative, you're going to add because they're the same. But different signs, negative plus positive or positive plus negative, since they're different, you're going to find the difference, which means subtraction. You might have learned that before in a previous math class. Difference means subtract. So if they're different signs, you will subtract. So you'll do that subtracting of their absolute values in your head if it's easy enough, or off to the side if you have to. Will the final answer be positive or negative? Well, it's going to depend. Depend on what? It's going to depend on which number has the bigger absolute value. Let me show you what I mean. Problem number 3. Again, I know this problem is already done for you in your guided notes, but follow along with me as I talk you through it. I think we can all agree the 27 is positive, but the 56 is negative. Again, the negative sign, I made it a little tiny and I raised it a little bit high. I apologize if that was hard for you to see, but that negative sign is there. So that's a negative 56. When the numbers are different signs, one's positive, the other's negative, then just like I highlighted in green up here, we are going to subtract either off to the side or in our head. Now, this one was a little harder to do in my head, so I did it off to the side. Now, something you need to know, and I didn't type this up on your guided notes, please forgive me, is the number that you put on top when you subtract should be the number with the bigger absolute value, which was the negative 56. So drop the signs because you're subtracting their absolute values. 56 goes on top, 27 goes underneath. We have to borrow here, don't we? Because 6 is smaller than 7, so I take 1 away from the 5, it becomes 4. The 6 becomes 16. We subtract. This is how we get 29. Will the final answer be positive or will it be negative? Up here I told you it depends. What does it depend on? It depends on which number would win, so to speak, like in a fight or something. Not that we're going to fight here, but you get what I'm saying, like a versus battle in a video game. Who's going to win? The one with the bigger absolute value. I think we can all agree, negative 56 has a bigger absolute value, the bigger distance from 0. Therefore, the final answer should be negative. So whichever number wins, so to speak, whichever number has the bigger absolute value, that will determine if the final answer is positive or negative. In this case, it was negative because negative 56 had the bigger absolute value. But let's take a look at number 4. We got 82, which is definitely positive, and 50, which is negative. Again, I put the negative sign a little bit higher up. If that bothers you, you may write the parentheses around the negative 50 if you like it better that way. Again, that's what most textbooks and worksheets will do across the world. But I'm giving you the option. If you don't want to write parentheses, you don't have to. So back to what I was saying. Forgive me for getting on a tangent there. 82 is positive, 50 is negative. That's the scenario I've highlighted in green. A negative number and a positive number. Since they're different signs, we're going to subtract. We're going to find the difference. I don't think you have to do this one with side work because if you think 82 take away 50, you wouldn't have to borrow. 2 minus 0 is 2. 8 minus 5 is 3. So we have 32. Now, should the answer be positive or should it be negative? Up here I highlighted it depends. What does it depend on? The number that has the bigger absolute value. In this case, that would be the positive 82. Can we all agree? 82 has a bigger distance from 0 than negative 50 would. That's what absolute value means. Distance from 0. 82 would win here. Therefore, the final answer is positive, just like the 82 was positive. Now, I did put a tiny little positive symbol here. You don't have to do that. You can just write plain old regular 32. Every once in a while, you'll see me putting a little tiny positive symbol just to remind you that I actually did figure out in my mind that the answer should be positive. So it's just kind of a little reminder from me to you. But please understand, you don't have to draw the positive symbol when you do these problems on your own. Okay, I want to lead you through some of these problems with me guiding you through. So we got problems 5 and 6. Let's do them together. What are these problems? They are problems where both numbers are negative. Negative plus negative, just like I've highlighted in yellow at the top. What do? We're going to add their absolute values. So you can do it off to the side if you want to, but if you can do it in your head, feel free to. And I bet you might be able to do that in number 5. 6 plus 3 is 9, right? And then 1 plus 7 would be 8. Should the final answer be negative or positive? Well, again, look back up at the top. What was this scenario? This was a negative plus a negative. So the answer should stay negative. You might remember at the beginning of the video, I said with money, which are negatives, would be debt, and debt plus debt would put you further in debt. So that's proof that a negative plus a negative is going to keep you in the negatives. Number 6, we have negative 38 plus negative 23. By the way, I can't remember if these original problems were left blank on your copy. If they were, make sure you write the original problems down. I honestly do not remember if they were left blank or if they were already typed up for you. So anyway, what was I saying? Negative 38 plus negative 23. Again, if you want to put that negative 23 in parentheses, you may. Totally up to you. But what do? Well, since they're both negative, we're going to add their absolute values. This one I would do off to the side. Okay? 8 plus 3 is 11. You have to carry the 1. This is why I would do this off to the side. If you can do this in your head, all the power to you. But I think a lot of you would benefit from the side work. And then 1 plus 3 plus 2 is 6. What do I make this? Since they're both negative, a negative plus a negative will keep it negative. All right, so that's how number 5 and 6 should work. Hopefully you wrote that all out. Let's take a look at 7 and 8. Again, if these original problems were left blank on your copy, then please write them down so you have the original problems. Okay, number 7. Are they both negative like they were on numbers 5 and 6? No. The 66 is negative, but the 14 is positive. So when they're different signs, we're looking at what I have highlighted in green up here. A negative plus a positive. You will subtract in your head or off to the side if you need to. 6 take away 4 would be 2, right? 60 take away 10, or 6 minus 1 would be 5, making this 52. Should the answer be positive or should it be negative? If we were in class, I'd have you quickly discuss it with your partner, but we're not in class. You're watching this video instead. So who has the bigger absolute value? Who would win? It would be the negative guy. The negative 66 has the bigger absolute value. He wins. Therefore, the result is negative 52. And then we have number 8, negative 7 plus 123. I think we can all agree the 7 is negative, but the 123 is positive. So again, they're different signs. Like we have highlighted in green, different signs. You're going to find the difference. You're going to subtract. But who goes in top in your side work? It's going to be the number with the bigger absolute value, which I think we can all agree is the 123. Then take away 7. Always put the bigger absolute value on top when you're subtracting in your side work. And when they're different signs on the original problem, that's when you're going to subtract. This is going to require some borrowing, right? Because the 3 was smaller than the 7, so you'll take away 1 from the 2, makes it 1. Now we have 13, take away 7, which gives you 6. And then we have 1 take away nothing, which is 1. And then the other 1 take away nothing is 1. So that leaves us with 116. Will the final answer be a positive 116 or will it be negative? Well, remember, it depends. Depends on what? Who has the bigger absolute value? Or you could think of in a versus game, who would win? Well, it's going to be the 123 here, isn't it? Because he has a bigger distance than the negative 7. Therefore, the final answer stays positive, just like the 123 was positive. And as I said a few minutes ago, yes, I put a tiny little positive symbol, but you do not need the positive symbol. You can just call it plain old 116, and that will mean positive. We're good. Okay, I have taken my time talking you through these problems. I hope now you understand when you're going to add and when you're going to subtract. When both numbers on the problem are negative, you will add in your head or off to the side. But when the one number is positive and the other number is negative, in either order, that's when you're going to subtract off to the side or in your head. All right. Would you please hit pause and do just numbers 9, 10, and 11 for now? Let's just see if you can get the hang of this on 3 problems. So do those 3 problems only, hit pause, then hit play when you're ready to see how you did. Okay, I hope you have done 9, 10, and 11. You already hit pause to do those 3 problems. Now you're hitting play to see how you did. Number 9, we have a negative plus a negative. They're both negative. As it taught you at the top that I have highlighted in yellow, when they're both negative, you're going to add. The final answer will stay negative. So 9 plus 11 is 20. Since they're both negative, the answer stays negative. That's what your number 9 should have looked like. If you had to do side work off to the side, fine, but I think you might have been able to do that one without the side work. Either way is cool with me. All right, are we going to do the same thing on number 10 as we did on number 9? I don't think so, because on number 9, they are both negative. But on number 10, they're not both negative. The 9 was negative, but the 11's positive. So that's the scenario that was at the top right of your guided notes, where I have it highlighted in green here. One number's negative, the other number's positive. You're going to subtract in your head. So you're going to think 11 take away 9. That would be 2. Should it be positive or should it be negative? Well, I highlighted in green. It's going to depend. Do you remember what it depends on? It depends on who has the bigger absolute value. So who has the bigger absolute value on this problem? It is the 11. It has a bigger distance from 0 than what the 9 would, or the negative 9 would, for the absolute value. So, since the 11 wins and it is positive, your final answer should be positive. You don't have to write the tiny little positive symbol if you don't want to. It's just going to be positive 2, regular 2. Problem number 11. We have a positive and a negative, kind of like number 10. The only difference is I switched which number was positive and which number was negative, didn't I? But again, since the one number is positive, the other number is negative, they're different signs, you're going to find the difference. You're going to subtract, like I have highlighted in green. And so, again, 11 take away 9 would be 2. Will it be positive or will it be negative this time? Who has the bigger absolute value? The negative number, negative 11, has the bigger absolute value than the positive 9. So the negative number wins, so to speak. And that's why the final answer should be negative 2 instead of positive 2. Okay, now that we have done 9, 10, and 11, now I want you to do the remaining 6 problems, 12 through 17. We will do the bottom section, 18 through 22, on a different video at another time. So for now, just do 12 through 17 on your own. So hit pause, give yourself as much time as you need, do 12 through 17 on your own, then hit play when you're ready to see how you did. Okay, I hope you have done 12 through 17 on your own, because I am now going to go over them. Guys, if you don't do the independent practice independently, then you're not going to learn the math the way that you should. So don't be cheating here and not hitting pause. Make sure that you are doing what the video tells you to do. Okay, so I trust you've done 12 through 17 on your own. Here I go. Number 12. Are they both negative? No. One of them is, the other one isn't. So what do you do when they're different signs? Like I have highlighted in green, you will subtract. So in your head, 87 take away 30. If you have to do it off the side, that's fine. It's 57. Who has the bigger absolute value? It's the negative 87. Therefore, the final answer is negative. Number 13. Before I go any further, if you need to rewind a video like 10 seconds to hear me explain something again, please do that. That's the nice thing about pre-recorded videos, is you can rewind and fast forward and pause whatever you need to make sure you fully understand what is being explained. All right, number 13. We have negative 30 plus negative 87. You're going to see I'm flip-flopping between putting the negative number in parentheses and not putting it in parentheses and putting the negative sign a little bit higher up instead. Totally your choice which way you want to do it, but that is a negative 87. I apologize if that negative sign was a little hard to see. Okay, anyway, both numbers are negative. What do? You do what I have highlighted in yellow up here on the top left. They're both negative, so you are going to add. If you have to go off to the side to do the addition, fine. That's going to give you 117. Should it go to a positive or should it stay negative? As the rule says at the top, when they're both negative, it's going to keep you in the negatives. That was also the case when we used number lines, right? You're going to go left, you're going to go left again for both negatives. That's going to keep you in the negatives. So the final answer on number 13 is negative 117. All right, let's move it a little bit quicker here. Number 14, we have a positive and a negative. When they're different signs, you will subtract either in your head or off to the side. If you had to do it off to the side, did you put the 34 on top and then the 28 on bottom? That's what you should do. Always put the bigger absolute value on top. All right, and then subtract. You would have to do some borrowing in this scenario because the 4 is smaller than the 8. So you would borrow. This 3 would become a 2. My handwriting is really horrible here. And then this would become a 14. And then you would subtract. 14 take away 8 gives you the 6. 2 take away 2 gives you nothing. So that leaves you with 6. Should it be positive or should it be negative? Well, who has the bigger absolute value on the original problem? It was the negative 34. It's further away from 0. It wins, so to speak. Final answer, negative 6. Number 15. Again, we have a positive and a negative, just like on number 14. Different signs. When they're different signs, you will find the difference. You will subtract. This one you might be able to do in your head. 8 take away 5 is 3. 4 take away 0 is 4. The 100 take away the other 100 is just going to leave you with 0. So we're left with 43. Should it be positive or should it be negative? Who has the bigger absolute value? It's the positive number this time. And therefore, the final answer is positive. You don't have to put a tiny little positive symbol if you don't want to. You can just put plain old 43. Okay, problem number 16. They're both negative numbers. When they're both negative, you will add, right? Negative plus negative, you're going to add. And so, did you do this in your head or did you do it off to the side? Either way is cool with me. I actually can do it in my head because 4 plus 1 is 5. 0 plus 6 is 6. And then the 200 part plus the other part doesn't have 100 parts, so that's just going to stay the 200. So we have 265. A negative plus a negative, what does that become? Oh, it stays negative. So there you go. Last one that you were asked to do, problem number 17. We have negative 72 plus 26. They are different signs. When they are different signs, find the difference. I apologize that I'm repeating myself, but I want to make sure that you understand how this works. And I've learned repetition can help it to stick in your mind. So that's what we're doing. All right, so when they're different signs, we're going to subtract. This one you might have done off to the side because this involved some borrowing. All right, so if I were you, I would have gone off to the side, put the bigger absolute value on top, which was the 72, then put the 26 underneath, okay? And then do the subtracting, do the borrowing, okay? And when you do all that, you will end up getting 46. Will it be positive or will it be negative? Well, who has the bigger absolute value? The negative guy or the positive guy? It's the negative guy. Again, when I say absolute value, who has the bigger absolute value, I'm basically saying who's further away from 0 or who would win, and like if you dropped the signs and did a versus game. And so that would be the negative 72 in this situation. It has the bigger absolute value. Don't ever say it's the bigger number. Negative numbers are not bigger than positive, so be careful how you word this. The vocabulary matters. The negative 72 has a bigger absolute value. That's why the final answer is negative. And that is the last problem we're going to do on part 1 of this video. We'll do 18 through 22 on a separate part. Thank you for watching this video. We'll see you next time.